Hi guys, this is Jiggy, a portrait and wedding photographer from the Philippines, and welcome to the channel. So in this episode, once again, we are going behind the scenes in one of my pre-wedding shoots. I will be showing you some before and after photos and walk you through my entire thought process on how I created those specific images. Alright, so let's go. So, all right, let's dive into this. So, this particular scene was the first one that I saw when we first met up with a client. Though I have to say that I've never shot in this location. I didn't really know what to expect, and I was just hoping for good weather. And during this time, to be honest, we weren't that lucky. So you'll see in the course of the images on how we were able to get through that. All right, so this is the first scene that I chose to be the one for the first layout. I liked it because of these trees, and if you notice, I put them here in the brightest part of the image. So what I did here was I underexposed that scene and supplemented the light using my Phottix Indra, which I used for this particular layout, and a Raja Deep 60 also from Phottix. It's an Octabank. So you'll see that when we go closer here, this is the one that I needed to fix, because if I exposed for the highlights here, I would definitely be underexposing their faces. And for me, obviously, the most important thing is that their faces should be seen. So that's where my light is directed. And I shot this, I think, on high speed sync. Let me see if I did. Yeah, I did. So I shot this with an 85 millimeter just to bring in the trees, the compression. And I wanted to shoot it at 1.4 to give that beautiful out of focus bokeh in the back and to make the images pop. So here in the final image, you will see the effect of the light that I put from the left side, just illuminating them and removing all the shadows. The most important thing to remember here is the fact that your light has to be powerful enough to be able to overpower that type of sunlight. That's why I had my Phottix Indra, which is a 500 watt per second flash that's capable of high speed sync. So in this case, I did shoot this in high speed sync. The camera that I used the entire time was an A7R Mark III, and I used a few lenses, an 85-1.4 GM, 70 to 200, 50 millimeter, and a 16 to 35. All right, so next. So when from here, they told me that they wanted to shoot in a golf course near an airfield. So I was like, okay, so let's go. And this was the scene. If you could see that we weren't fortunate enough to have any decent sunlight during that time, and it was a very, very cloudy day. But in this case, having a very cloudy day gives you beautiful soft light. Unfortunately, since the scene was so, in terms of contrast, it was dead, and colors, it was very, very muted because of the conditions that we had, I couldn't shoot any wide shots here, so I decided to go tight. I made them sit down here by the tree, put the light going here, the next scene there. You can see now the Phottix Raja 60. I put it here, shot it with an 85 so I can go in tight, basically removing the entire scene already and just making use of the beautiful soft light that we had. So why did I pop a flash? Because this type of scene will not give you really vibrant colors. So by popping a flash, you're able to bring out those colors, no? So output of this one is here. And this was straight on. The light was just straight onto their face. Again, I shot this at 1.4, making sure that more or less that the guy and the girl were in the same plane so that I don't bokeh the guy away, and focusing more on their expression here. Now, I had my light on the left side directly on them, but then I also wanted to shift it because, as I said, we had beautiful soft light, and I used my light now as a kicker light, so I put it behind them, and this was the image that I got. So yeah, so basically, since this is the first time that I met the couple, these first few layouts this is what I call the getting to know each other stage, just for them to get comfortable in front of the camera, for me to understand their limitations, for me to see also the angles that they're going to be comfortable with or what they're comfortable doing. So from there, this is the scene. We didn't really move. I just basically moved around, made them stand up, sit down, and all those things. So the light location again was still on the short side of the face, just to give that nice contrast, a brighter side. And then I underexposed the entire scene just to give me that nice contrast that I was looking for. And this is the output. So you see, my light is coming from here. This is your natural light here, right here. So it's underexposed, which now gives me greener greens and bluer blues, even though, you know, it wasn't really there, but we were just pushing whatever it is that we had in terms of the location. And I had my light here. So after that, I just took a few more, which are tighter. And yeah, so basically from there, we moved on to our next location. Our next location, they chose this place because of this view. But unfortunately, again, we didn't have those beautiful clouds, the nice sunlight. So we couldn't just say that, hey, we're not going to shoot and let's just pack up and go back another day. That doesn't really happen. So we have to be able to think on our feet and find other areas in which we can shoot in. So that's why the moment I arrived, the first thing I do is really go around the place and see where I could be shooting. So if I knew I couldn't shoot wide and this area here wasn't really as flattering as or as dynamic as how I would want to be, this is the one that caught my eye at once. I knew that if I put them inside, but there will be a play of lights and shadows. So automatically I knew and I hoped that this area would be good enough for us to shoot in. And since the weather was like this already, I did not need my 500 watts anymore, my Phottix Endra. So I wanted to use now a smaller light source, which is here, the MagMod Mag box. It's a 24-inch Octabank that has a focus diffuser in front. Basically, it serves as a grid so I can control the spill of my light. And it has a mag ring in the back that you could put two F45 RMs or two flash units. In this case, I put two F45 RMs already from Sony, and I had a remote commander on top of my camera to be able to get high-speed sync and control everything from the camera itself. Okay, so the moment I entered this area here, the moment I entered, I already saw that there was an opening. So perfect. That was, and you note, as I was saying earlier, you would have some place of lights and shadows whenever you're in an area like this that's not too open here like this. So I knew that I was going to get some lights and shadows there. So I just positioned them again on the brightest part of the image, which is here. So from this particular scene, you would see that I had my MagMod here directed towards them. Of course, I was still posting them. And this is the area I wanted to be their background, just to be able to cover them. Not cover them, just to be able to frame them properly. Okay? And this was the output. A good play at 16:35 ultra wide, just to get the entire scene to show everything in general, because now there's so much to show as compared to if I shot earlier in that blank field or that empty field. There's really nothing to show except for the volcano, which was in the back, but it wasn't really that evident at that time. So yeah, so I needed to put them here just to frame them. And as I said earlier, I put them in the brightest part. You'd get dots of light or specks of light here and there. So I would put their face to make sure that it's going to hit them, and then pop the flash just to enhance whatever or remove any other shadow that was there. Now, while I was shooting this, immediately I saw this area here, this one here. And I knew that would make a better looking backdrop, but of course we need variety, so I shot them first here. And then just move to the side, moved my light. I didn't even have to repost them anymore, just moved the gown. And this is the shot that we were able to get. So earlier I was shooting in high-speed sync just to be able to get the bokeh. But now, since I was using weaker flash units, I needed to get the most out of it, number one. And number two, if I'm shooting wide, I don't really need to shoot wide open. So I stayed within my flash sync speed, which is here. You could see it's 1/250. And then this time I was shooting on shutter speed priority and just getting the aperture that the camera was giving me, and pop the flash just to be able to illuminate the subjects properly. It's usually I'm shooting either in shutter speed priority or aperture priority. That's why you will notice here in my EXIF there is a -1/3 or maybe here -2/3. It means that I'm just adjusting everything using my exposure compensation on my camera. So you guys are gonna ask me now, I'm sure, what the power of my flash was. To be honest, I don't know. I would just be looking at the back of my camera and see if it's underexposed or overexposed. If it's underexposed, I make my flash stronger. If it's overexposed, then I just make my flash weaker. Basically, what I do is I set for my ambient light first, after which I will then pop my flash and then control the power of my flash afterwards. Okay? So I wasn't done in this layout because it was fun. And, you know, I was trying to get everything that I could given the situation that we were in. So not moving them again, I just changed my lens to change my perspective. And I wanted now to shoot with a good background blur. And keeping them where they are, see with this one, this is my setup, the Sony wireless remote commander. This is how it looks like when I'm shooting. And this is the actual scene. So notice how underexposed I am. And this is the actual output. I'm about 1/3.5 I'll stop and 1/3 underexposed. I'm shooting at 1/2000, which is on high speed sync at f1.4 wide open with an 85mm. The 85mm again is what I use just to bring in the background closer and to fill the frame even more. And another variation of that one is the same. Instead of having my light though from the left side, I moved it to the right side and moved a step back a bit more just to be able to get more of the scene. Okay, so I was done with the bamboo area. When we went out, even though we didn't have any proper sunlight, there was still some cloud formation that maybe I could push or get out of it. That's why I had to take one shot like this, just to be able to see what I could do. Unfortunately, no matter what, notice that there's no vibrance in colors here. There's no contrast because there is no light except for the ones that I'm giving. And sometimes soft light doesn't work in situations like this. But by having harsh light here, it will just bring out all the textures of the leaves. You know, it's a good way. It's nice to combine harsh light with soft light. Okay, so yeah, I know that was kind of fast. How I wish I should maybe redo this and make it more detailed explanation per image. But this is really just to give you an overview of what it is that goes through my head whenever I am shooting. Notice how everything was all about solving problems. The biggest problem we had with this shoot was we did not have really nice natural light, which destroyed the reason on why we were there in the first place. Meaning we were shooting there because we wanted wide shots, we wanted clouds, we wanted sunsets and all those things. But we weren't able to do that because of, well, what nature gave us. But that, as us photographers, it shouldn't stop there. Meaning we can't say, okay, I'll just come back when the light is better. That's why it's essential that you have to learn how to use artificial light too. So when you're put in a situation like this, you're still able to make the most out of that particular scene. Okay, so again, if you guys haven't subscribed to the channel, please do so. And while you're at it, click that notification bell so that next time I upload a new video, you will be notified. And if you want to see more of my images, I am on Instagram. It's at Jiggy Alejandrino. Okay, so till the next video.